And welcome to another episode of In This Is Why I Love Comics. I'm Andy,
And I'm like,
and that's Mike. And we are here today. We're on the road to 100. Thanks for joining us. We have a special guest, Ben Ferrari,
hi.
who I only known for a couple days, but we both saw each other's TikToks, I think at the same time, and went, that's a good fit. That's something we could talk about. And so he's joining us today. Hi, Ben.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Pilot Studios.
Yeah.
And he's got a Kickstarter going on. It is Kanin the Marauder. And not only are we gonna talk about that, we're gonna talk about some extreme days back in the 90s. And I thought Mike has some extreme stories too. Not
Mhm.
many, probably not as many as Ben does, but I thought that would be fun to match you guys up. I have a couple of thoughts on that myself. I'll bring that up later. Um,
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about that and whatever else we want to talk about. Thanks again for joining us, Ben. And well, let's jump right into the Kickstarter. I
Cool.
know you have one going on right now. There's like a week and a half left, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah. Just under 2 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Okay, it's called Kanan the Marauder. How'd that come about? You're on issue 4. This is issue 4 already
Right.
of the series.
Yeah. So I've got a couple copies here of the book. I did three covers on each series, each issue, I should say. This is one of them from issue one by Luis Rivera. So Cain in the Mirror is like so many books out there, it's an archetype. It's the Conan archetype, And I wanted to do Conan. I got into him during the pandemic for the first time in my life, and I started collecting all of the Marvel '70s, '80s Conan run, and I have a nice, a nice collection of them. But I just loved it so much, and I wanted to do my own, and I came up with this rabbit with my friend and frequent collaborator Kurt Belcher. So we wrote stories as we went. We finished four issues, have one through four complete. They've been complete for a long time. I basically finished all four issues before we even started the Kickstarters. So
okay,
I believe this is issue three. Oh, yeah, that's three. Here's two. So we got issue two and multiple covers. This is just each. Issue two, issue three. So we're basically telling Conan style characters. And then this is issue four, that one of which is available right now. And he's a mix of Conan. Obviously, he's some Usagi Yojimbo for obvious rabbit reasons.
right.
There's a little bit of dork in there, the popular comic these days, just because of the time, and the era that it's set in. Lobo, he's super violent and he's not very nice. So, I love the character that Kurt and I developed. Like you just said, we have four issues done. The fourth issue is on Kickstarter now. All of them are available. I have so much more done and in progress, so I'll probably do 3 to 4 more single issues mixed in there with a trade paperback. Tons of art coming down the line. Ben Ferrari is my name on Facebook. Anybody can find me, and that's where I'm posting art all the time.
Sure.
And then Pilot Studios is my self-publishing company, and I post there as well. So yeah, it's been a successful enough Kickstarter. The truth is, a Conan style rabbit is a hard sell. It's superheroes out there, obviously, which is what I grew up with, and so no shade on that. But the end, not safe for work stuff is what sells, and this is not that. This is story oriented, good art. It's a Conan archetype, which I think is popular these days. Conan certainly is. Uh, a Conan archetype is not the hot thing in the comic book market right now. So I do my best promoting it and telling people about it. I'm proud of it. I love it. Kurt and I, have done a lot for it, and we have amazing covers. And so you just keep going, and they're successful enough to justify it. So
Right. And at my age, I tend to now think the superhero stuff has kind of been done and kind of boring. I still
yeah.
enjoy it, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But certainly while doing this podcast, we've been been doing some independent stuff, and it's the independent stuff that I remember more, like Parker and
Yeah.
Something's Killing the Children, all that stuff that just isn't regurgitating another Batman story. Again, I like that stuff. It has its place, but as I
Yeah.
got older, I'm certainly creeping away from I don't know, normal tight pants
Well,
characters and
because we've seen it 1,000 times. We've seen the big superhero battle with a zillion of them, and
yep,
like you said, I've been collecting those comic books since I was 10 years old. That's 40 years. I collect very few DC comics anymore, and
yeah.
and fewer Marvel actually. Marvel and DC, I just very rarely do I pick. You know,
Mike, what do you think about independence versus superheroes nowadays?
I'm going to throw a little bit of Extreme Studios in to a degree, but like when Alan Moore rewrote Supreme
hmm
and really made that into like, okay, this is what Superman could slash should be. That was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But it's like even that is kind of like how long can you maintain that level of greatness? Alan Moore, maybe, yeah, because you also
yeah.
had Chris Sprouse art. Yeah,
I wish he
it
had
Yeah.
could probably have
continued
gone
forever.
on,
Yeah.
but it's tough to try to, everything's got a one-up situation.
Can you see that? I have Alan Moore's Supreme poster. It's an
Oh,
Alex
right
Ross
there.
Supreme, all the different variants. That's how
Yeah,
much I like
the
Supreme. Supreme is my top
supremacy.
in my top.
Nice. Yeah, that's something Mike's trying to get me to read all of them, so he's been collecting them for me and giving them
Oh,
to
good.
me. So,
I
Yeah,
think I have most of the singles, and I have the two trade paperbacks as well.
yeah.
So
Checker, I think did
yeah,
the books.
Checker
Yeah.
Publishing.
So, but with superheroes, especially now, it's like, do they ever live outside of their spandex? Is it
Right.
perpetually, um, stuck in this kind of, I'll never not be the superhero. And, it's just,
There's never downtime, as far as I.
yeah, yeah. Because, like, in one of your pages, specifically on let's see if I can pull this one up.
Oh yeah.
What was great, this is, looks like it's
Yeah.
more of the young Kanan
Yeah.
adventure. But what was fantastic about this was just, yeah, action adventure, but then indications of life outside and all the different
Yeah.
adventures that are implied. It doesn't even
hmm
have to be like super, long drawn out, like how did this happen? How did he encounter this cobra that breathes
Yeah.
fire with tusks?
You know,
Doesn't need it. You just know that he's had an adventure.
so that page right there is 8 future adventures. Final page in issue 4, where
Ah,
we wrap up the story in the page before, and we say, not the end, the what you have to look forward to.
brilliant.
And each of them has a name. When you read, each of them sort of has a title. We put the name of that particular adventure on each panel. So that's seeing there. So I really appreciate that you noticed. Yeah, I mean, we all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, because even here, zero context. All I have are 6 panels, and you're just kind of following this, kind of gnome, dwarf, shark
Yep.
hybrid as they're
Yeah.
just kind of walking through camp. And he's like, well, you can just, you get a good sense. The coloring is
Cool.
fantastic. So one thing, and this might be something you want to cut if you want to cut something out. I just don't know how you're getting away with this. The coloring is phenomenal. You've got 3 different covers. You've got tons of pages. Because not only do you have a story, some of your books are over 30 pages. Like number two's got 30 plus.
Oh, you're talking about the
So,
Kickstarters. Yeah.
and it's like, and then for $10 an issue, that's actually pretty spot on, for all you're
Cool.
getting.
Oh,
But
good.
it's like to pay for the talent, to pay for the printing, to pay for distribution, I mean, and
Yeah.
publicity, marketing, Kickstarter fees, all of it. Like I said, I'm just stunned.
Wow. Thank you. Very kind. I'm the so that's free. The colorist is Pepito Sioc Jr. He's obviously fantastic, as you said. And I have and Federico did the art on that page there.
Yeah.
So he is he's the whole Lada, I guess is this dumb way to say that, but yeah. Lettering, I have good friends who do very cheap. So my cost is colors primarily. Kurt and I, Jay Hewer, we plot stories. Kurt writes the script, and I do the art. And then a lot, and I came up making comics when it was all creations, and a lot of it still is. I have a lot of friends who will do a cover for me, and then I do something for them. There's a lot of each other out in the small press world. Some of them do cost me some money, but generally people are pretty full because I send them comics and I promote their stuff, and we're all friends. So, like I said, the colors is most of the cost. So when I say that the Kickstarters make enough, they barely do. The cost. You print the books that people have ordered. Um, then your what there is left is barely enough to pay the colors. That's the truth. So we do it because we love it. Issue one, there was some money to split between Kurt and I, the creators. Since then, that decreased, but that's life. I hopefully will increase the readership because it is something we're proud of, and it is a quality book. And maybe as time goes on, that'll happen. So what I can say is that the readers, the buyers, the backers, so far through these 4 issues are the same people virtually. So they're coming back for the next issue, which I've reported. Is it over 70 comic books? And I don't know how many I bought issue 2 for. Very few. So. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, you think about like how Rebirth, the New 52, all these issue number ones, and some of them didn't make it past, issue 8,
Right.
and that's DC, and their numbers were dropping. So how did you come to Kickstarter? Like, there's a lot of other crowdfunding options. How did you come to Kickstarter, and how did you how are you feeling with it?
I mean, it's kind of a big question. I know you're not expecting a big answer, but 2016, not looking to get into politics. However, I created a book Silas Dix created a book called Always Punch Nazis after Charlottesville, and
Mm.
we made a book. We made an anthology. Lots of friends and collaborators went. A lot of people contributed stories basically for this book, over 50 pages. Anyway, I put it on Kickstarter. It was attacked by Breitbart News, right wing media. And you can Google Breitbart News, Always Punch Nazis, Ben Ferrari, Pilot Studios, Kickstarter, and all that article will come up. And there it is, attacking me personally, attacking book. And there was a huge fight within Kickstarter because of my book. And the management, based on this pressure, wanted to kick the book off of the platform. And the rank and file said, fuck no, you will not do that. And there was a battle. There was a battle for 2 years. And at the end of that battle, Kickstarter, the rank and file of Kickstarter unionized. It's called Kickstarter United. And that came about because of my book. That was that the first book I ever did? I believe so, on Kickstarter. And I've just stuck with them ever since because I have I have ties. I have loyalty
Yeah, I
because of
mean,
that. So
yeah, if
2000,
they demonstrate that kind of level of loyalty and support, it's
yeah,
kind of hard to look elsewhere after that.
exactly. People go to Indiegogo, and I'm sure Zoot, or I forget. There's a couple others, yeah, but Kickstarter works. It's always been good. And Always Punch Nazis was my biggest series, and I've done. I want to say I've done 11 total books. The Always Punch Nazis series, the Kanin the Marauder series, and then 3 miscellaneous one shots. So
with this being issue 4, and you've already referenced that there's issue 5, this issue 4 kind of wraps up this first story arc.
Exactly. This is a whole single issue, single story,
Okay.
complete.
And then that would be, and then you're most likely going to collect that in a trade as well.
Yeah, I didn't send you the a trade cover, but a good friend of mine, named Chuck Todd, did an amazing painted cover. It's gorgeous. So yeah, that book will probably be before I do issue 5. I don't know. There's so many decisions to make. Issue 5 is not colored or lettered, but the art is complete. I probably have enough material for a 6 and 7 issue. Do I do a trade paperback right after issue 4? Do I wait and add a couple more and do a compendium? I think I'll probably end up doing a trade paperback after this issue 4 and add some short stories. I'm drawing what's going to probably be 3 short stories over the few months that I've written a couple. And then and we'll just make it a special bonus material trade paperback and put that out there. So, and then on top of all that Kanin the Marauder stuff, I have 2 off the top of my head that have been done for a long time. I just haven't had time to fit in the Kickstarter schedule, and I've been releasing these Kanin the Marauder Kickstarters every 6 weeks.
Yeah, I saw
Launched.
that.
So
So you had said earlier on, though, that this is kind of a character you both created. How long was this? Like ages ago, or was this more recent?
let's see. I'd imagine we started making issue 1 in 2023. Imagine,
Hmm.
we finished all the art for the first, say, 3 issues, and then started getting them colored over time. Everything was staggered, to the where issue 4 was done. I hit launch on issue 4, and I ordered some copies, in sort of anticipation of what I figured the numbers would be. Um, so yeah, it's a couple years of regular Kanin the Marauder output. I'm an electrician by day, so this is
Uh,
all at night. This is all for fun. Luckily, I don't have to pay my mortgage with making comics. I'm homeless. Um, so I maybe finish a page a week. If I'm lucky, between doing stuff for other people, doing covers and pinup, short stories for other projects, whatever. So it took a
That's
couple of
brilliant.
years to do the 4 issues. Yeah.
So it sounds like you've really built up a really solid network of people that you've kind of affiliated with.
Yeah.
How long did it take? Was this been since the 90s that you've been building this group, or has it been more recent?
Well, I guess with that question, I should talk a little bit of backstory for
Yeah,
uh,
that'd be great.
your listeners, watchers, viewers. I
All of
worked
the
for
above.
I worked for Liefeld, Rob Liefeld, in '94 to '96, approximately 2 years. I was right out of high school. Um, it was a fantastic time of my life. I'll go into a lot more detail on my experiences, both bad and good, on a podcast that I'm going to create pretty soon called the Pilot Studios Show with Ben Ferrari. But
Nice.
to suffice it to say, it was a fantastic experience. I learned to make comic books working at Extreme Studio for those years. There's me with Kodiak, a Newman character. And so I had a lot of friends, from that time. It ended, and I probably didn't collect comics for a few years after that. I started again in early 2000s and drawing heavily again in the early 2000s. And so I'd say in 2008, when I started making books regularly on my own, I did have a lot of contacts. Cedric Nocon did a bunch of covers for me. Kurt Hathaway and I worked together a little bit. These are all Extreme alumni. Um, Probably some others as well. But and then 2006 to 2008, I guess, was the beginning of digital webbing online on the internet, and I met a
Hmm.
bunch of people there. So
Yeah, I kind of forgot about digital webbing, but That was it. Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
that. The early days when the internet was actually something that was a little less threatening and more just open for new ideas to kind of throw stuff out there.
absolutely. And you were able to say, "Hey, who wants to work together?" And nobody dumped all over you. Which I'm sorry to say these days, if any young writer or artist puts out, "Hey, want to work together without pay, just collaborate." I mean, people jump all over them. And so sadly, it's not the same as it was with digital webbing. So I made lots of friends, made lots of comics with people, with Kurt Belcher, um, Matt Grant, Buck Weiss, lots of guys and most of which I'm still friends with today. So I had a deep bench when we started making them regularly. I was Earthbound Comics for a couple years, and we turned out one a month for probably a year. That's how busy we
Wow.
were, and you get pretty good at it. And so I switched over to Pyros at some point, 2012 maybe, and I've been going full time ever since. Not as many collaborators. Kurt Belcher and Jay Hewer are my regular collaborators. Um, but I have a lot who I still collaborate with, and then when we pay for things when we have to. Yep.
So what years were you with this, in this particular shot? I'm seeing, you
Oh,
and Kodiak.
I was
Like
18. I must have, it was 94 to 96. I have a letter of
96. Wow.
recommendation here somewhere from Matt Hawkins. So going back to that, I was Matt's assistant. They had a Maximum Press company, sort of an independent outside of Image company. And I was Matt's editorial assistant. And
Okay.
was there, that must have been 94, the summer 94, maybe 95, but probably 94. I was 18, and that's the Youngblood battle cruiser behind me, and it was just absolute blast. The whole 2 years. I'll never
Man.
regret that time.
That was what, in Anaheim?
The studio was in Anaheim, right,
Okay.
right down the street from my house. I was going to yeah, I was going to church in at what's called EV Free Fullerton in Brea, California, and so Liefeld, and I would see him all the time, and I wouldn't bug him, but I'd talk to him. I'd
Yeah.
certainly get in his radar and chat it up. He was a youth leader along with my youth group leader. I one
Wow.
day he was walking to his car one day, and I pulled up next to him and said, "Hey, could I get a tour of your studio?" And he said, "Sure." Before you know it, I was working at Image, got me a job at Image Comics, just opening mail, gopher type stuff.
Hmm.
And then so the first summer I was with Image Comics at San Diego Comic Con, and he basically, I remember him telling me, um, so there I was working at Image, and he said, "I'm going to take you over to Extreme." I must have done something right because he me or whatever, and I went over to Extreme, and I was Matt Hawkins' assistant, and just had a blast. In the evenings at 5 o'clock, pre 5 o'clock, I guess we would. Gopher and I, another editorial assistant, would race FedEx to the X building, and I would go back. Have you ever had a job where you go to work when you're not being paid? I did. I went back and I would sit in the bullpen, and I would hang out with these guys, and I inked some backgrounds. If you remember Dooms
Wow.
4, I inked an amount, but Dooms 4 stands out as a Mark Pacella book that I was inking backgrounds, and I helped pencil some simple ones and stuff. I was an 18-year-old, didn't really know anything, but they were very kind, and I learned some stuff about drawing. Rob Liefeld sat down one time and gave me some pointers on drawing, which I absolutely hated. He another time sat me down. It was the morning. It was in the morning, and so what do you want to do? Because at that point he assumed I was going to be with him for a while, which
Nice.
I and I said, asked me what did I wanted to do in comics, and I said, I want to be I said I want to be a pen, but honestly, I like editorial. I wouldn't. being an editor. I like the coordination, approving stuff and telling somebody screwed up, and fixing things.
The
I,
power.
yeah, I like power, but so those types of situations weren't regular. He's a busy guy, but tons of fun. And I would stay into the late night hours with these guys. A lot of them worked at night. They'd come in the evening and ink and draw, and Kurt has their lettering, and you name it there. I'm sure you're familiar with 99% of them over there.
Yeah.
One point I'll make is you'll never find my name in the books, and I sent pictures to you as some proof. And I have a letter of recommendation from Matt where I left, saying that I worked there. That's proof I have. And I don't actually know why I wasn't in there as an assistant. Maybe, the squeaky wheel gets the oil or grease or whatever. It wasn't
Yeah.
squeaky. I don't know. So that's the only sort of, no, that sucks. But,
Yeah.
I can't open it up and say, hey, that's me. So, we could do a whole podcast on this, and I'd be happy to sometime. But
Mike, did you tell the story of yourself and Extreme yet?
No, no. My time was not any.
No, and I don't mean to make it like you worked there or anything like that, but
No.
during the 90s, we were hustling, we were trying to be the
yeah,
penciler, and I was the writer, but no one wanted to hear see a writer, no one who cares?
no,
Everybody's got ideas, but Mike
Yeah.
was
yeah,
the artist,
no,
and trying to move in up into the industry. And 94 came, or was it 92 or 94?
It was
Image Comics
92. Yeah, right when
92,
Image was forming.
Chicago Comic Con. Was it even Wizard World then? I don't know, but
Yeah, it was no, it was still Chicago Comic Con at the time.
and they had a big tent in the back, and they're just coming out with books, and all the Image guys were there, and huge lines, and we were there for the whole weekend. We're gonna break into the industry,
This
yes,
is
and
it.
yep,
these Image guys were all there, and my first jealousy moment, Mike got to sit down. He got pulled into the ranks of the tables, McFarlane and Liefeld and Portacio, and Jim Lee was there somewhere, but Valentino was there, and Mike sat down and talked with him, and I'm like, oh yeah, 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 this is all good.
yeah. Had,
uh,
had you swing a sit down?
Yeah, it was an interesting and a weird situation because it's like there was a like the original artist on Supreme, a gentleman by the name of Brian Murray.
I know
Um
of Brian very well. I love his work. Yeah,
yeah, so he had recommended that I talk with Liefeld and said like, "Hey, he's coming to Chicago. Are you going to be at the con?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'll be there." So he already kind of pre-planted like,
okay,
"Hey, you got to check this guy, stop in and so forth." Man, I was like, "Okay." So Um,
okay.
yeah,
you
and
know,
this was back when cons you artists didn't feel like they were super celebrities. I mean, they were because this was a tent dedicated just to the image folks. 'Cause, I mean, this was the summer they launched, so it was a massive line, tons of people, and I got to talking to Liefeld about like, hey, Brian Murray recommended that I talk to you for something. He goes, oh, really? What do you? And then I showed him my portfolio, and then he said, well, just because of like the lines, he had to keep the lines moving. He's like, why don't
yeah,
you come around the backside of the table?
nice.
And so I did, and then he's like, well, why don't you sit down and I gotta keep signing. I gotta, everybody's signing these posters and comics and so forth. So I was in between Liefeld and Larson. I don't know if it was just because of alphabetical order or what, but that's how those two were seated. So while Liefeld was talking to a fan, then I talked to Larson, and while Larson was talking to a fan, I talked to Liefeld, and it was all this like, oh man, this is gonna be fantastic. And they're like, yeah, we'll have you out in Anaheim. We're gonna fly you out. Blah blah blah. This is gonna be great. We're gonna have you, test you out on this. And it's like, yeah, and he gave me. I still have them somewhere. All these old Extreme Studio business cards, Eric Stevenson, and
Yeah,
all these other folks. Here you go, here you go, here you go. We'll get you out here real soon. And it's like, oh, that'd be brilliant. I'm like, we were like floating. I didn't need a train ride back. I was just able to fly. I mean, it was
Yeah,
phenomenal
living
experience.
the dream, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was great. And that's when I found that so I was doing a sketch while waiting for a moment for Liefeld to be freed up. I was doing this sketch and I thought, well, I already have Liefeld's attention. So I'm going to just do the Savage Dragon. And so I did it, and oh crap, I got a lesson taught like instantly. It's like his fin comes out at a 90-degree angle. It's not
Yeah.
upward, it's not at a diagonal, it's 90 degrees straight out of his forehead. And it's like,
Okay.
ooh. So
Yeah.
I didn't win any points with him per se, but at least he was looking to see what I was drawing.
Yeah.
And I was constantly doodling, that entire time. And I think that was kind of what obviously it led nowhere. I
So
never got a call back. I never got a phone call. And to make matters worse, shortly after that, I had a family vacation. We traveled out of state and I visited my relatives in another state. And I'm like going, well, they said to call him. And then while the iron is hot, so to speak, I thought I'd better give him a call.
yeah.
And I called every single day on their dime. This is back when long distance was a thing. And
Yeah.
so I called every single day and I just get put on hold. And I was on hold for a long time.
Okay.
And it
Yeah.
was like, well, I'll try again tomorrow. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay. And it's just like, I fear what my parents had to deal with because of like, that had to be a massive phone bill. I mean, it's just
Um,
hours, prime time to call.
uh,
It wasn't like, call after 7 was back in the day or 9 o'clock or something like that was like when long distance was less expensive. Yeah, I mean, it was. And then insult to injury, year two comes around and the tent isn't there. But I think this might have been Detroit or whatever. But there was another instance where I got to see Liefeld again. And I said, and I showed him, we had at that time, Prophet had come out,
okay.
was introduced. So Andy had written a script. I had done several pages of it, all penciled, ready to go. Showed Liefeld. He's like, going, oh, I remember you from last year. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
They
then,
turn
and
you.
then I even went as far as like, can you write on this thing that you need to follow up with this guy? And I still have like at that point I had my just because I didn't want to lug around that Bristol board, I brought in I photocopied, and so it was like 8.5 by 11, so it was already shrunk down. So it was just easier to transport. And then I
Mhm.
put them in those like paper sleeves or those plastic paper sleeves so that you can kind of flip through it like it was a book. And Liefeld wrote all over it. It's like, Eric, you need to reach out to this person. You needed blah blah. And this long note. I mean, he filled that entire plastic sheet saying you need to reach out to this guy. So then
Wow.
he's like, okay, now go over. Eric's at this other table. Go meet up with him, and he'll follow up. So man, beeline. I was like, I could have been drafted for the football team because I mean I was just knocking people over. It's just like I'm plowing
Yeah.
through the crowds. I get over there. The ink isn't even dry on that thing, and I get another business card from Eric Stevenson saying like, "Give me a call. I see what Rob's saying here. Yep, and I see your work. Yep, this is great. Blah 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 blah." Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just
It sounds like a
crickets.
tragedy. This is terrible.
Yeah, so that was kind of my like I said, while I enjoy the books and I had a lot of fun drawing the stuff, it was kind of like, well, yeah,
Wasn't meant to be.
yep. So
I'm
moved
sure
on to
he's
other
getting
things.
around on you soon, though. Any minute.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
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 I'm still
Wait by the
waiting.
phone.
The
30 years
phone's off the
later.
hook. It's just like it's just waiting for that phone
I'm
call to
supposed to
come any
call.
moment now.
Yeah. But wasn't
Yeah.
that the same con in Detroit where Brian Murray was there and he was like, "Oh, I love these pages. I love these pages too." So you
Yeah.
had more than one creator there,
Yeah.
just chomping. But that them's the breaks. That's what happens.
Yeah.
You've had a good life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Other-
So it
But
wasn't hurting afterwards, but it was just one of those things where it's like, um, I understand the entire intent of the Marvel comic series, What If? It's just like the path that would have had it happen if this did take off,
Mhm.
versus if this,
Yeah.
because that would have been the exact time pretty much when you were there. Because it
you could
would,
have a podcast with him now, and
yeah,
then
talking to, yeah.
Talking about the olden days.
right.
Yeah, yeah. But that was a lot of fun. It was good times. And it was just, we still did our own drawings. We did a lot of, and this is why I applaud everything you're doing. Because you're on Kickstarter, you're already 4 issues in. You've had, several other books that you've already published. There's zero what is that term, like fear of success, like where some people are like, I don't want to do this because it may not be the best, so then they just freeze. You're
Sure.
doing exactly what you're wanting to do, and that I applaud, immensely, because there's a lot of things that, Andy and I both were like, oh, let's do this, and then it just fizzles. But you're
Yeah.
pursuing it. You're actually printing the stuff. You got the collaborations. You got the networks. I mean, you're
Thank you.
doing absolutely brilliant work and getting, your vision out there.
Thank you. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of uh, how long am I going to continue? If you keep putting books out and it's not reaching an audience, do you just keep doing it? Do you just keep throwing them out into the wind? And I probably will with Kanin the Marauder. I'll keep going for, I was mentioning earlier, at least 3 more issues because Kurt and I have a good time making them and it's a quality product. But, on the other hand, we've written a couple of screenplays and based on an idea I had. One is called Bad Scouts, survival adventure, and I think I want to do that next. So I'm looking at what's next after the Marauder, and I think it'll be probably a 90-page graphic novel. Maybe we'll break it up into single issues. Maybe we'll just go for the whole thing. Do it all at once. But yeah, no, you just gotta. And then when you talk about freezing up, like, you start to wonder: is this art? Do I suck? Is this art terrible? You know what I mean? You start to freeze. You start to get. I don't want to do a new issue. Maybe I shouldn't be doing these. But I know it doesn't suck. Based on that I've gotten. So I know that's not real. It's fine interiors. Um, I completely understand things fizzling out. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. I don't know. Besides just being obsessed with it, absolutely being obsessed with it, and I don't want to let Kurt down, my collaborator. He makes his living making comics, and here he is
Oh,
working with me. I don't make my making comics. I'm an electrician, and I'm not gonna crumb that guy. You know what I mean? Who is so talented and way more talented than me in art and writing. And so there's an element of that where I have to keep going. I can't actually stop. And we've been
yeah,
making books. We've made a lot of books together. Here's one of his covers. So
Right.
yeah.
It's
Issue
very
two.
similar to podcasting, trying to find your audience. Some episodes are more successful and you don't know why.
yeah,
And it's just, it's keep
yeah.
going.
You
You'll,
must love it, right? Okay, so casting is your example of something you love.
right.
You're not, um, you know, you don't have extreme success, obviously,
Yeah.
but you enjoy it and you like it and you show up every time. Same thing with us, make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And really, I just started this podcast to talk to Mike, who's an old friend, and
Oh,
and just an excuse, really, to get it. And then it just kind of went out, in a way. But
good.
it's you gotta enjoy it, or else it is gonna fizzle. And I don't want to let Mike down, kind of thing, like you and Kurt. So
Yeah.
it's just carry on, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And what would I do if I didn't make comics? Honestly.
Yeah, you need that outlet. you know, it seems like you've been needing that outlet for some time, where it's like, yeah, Extreme Studios. I mean, that's in the 90s. I mean, when everything was legitimately extreme. I mean, absolutely everything was.
Yeah.
And be at a place called Extreme, I mean, that was the dream. And it's kind of hard to shake that, you know, once you know, had the taste of it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no excuse. You know, it's in my bones because of that experience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's
You know,
brilliant.
and Liefeld gets a lot of, a lot of slack, and some of it's warranted or not, but you got to give the guy credit. He sticks around, and he always comes back. And
Yeah. That's
he
a,
knows his stuff, his podcasts, it's successful.
I
Um,
love his podcast.
yeah.
You know, my relationship with him is not good. It didn't end well, you know, but I've seen him and to him over the years to various outcomes. But you know, I won't take anything from him for that podcast. I love that thing, you know. And when I hear myself talking on my podcast, I kind of did an introduction to what will be a podcast. Myself mimicking him, you know, in what he's saying in his intro, and you know, that's just a small thing, but I like the
Right.
format of his show. I like the topics it uses. He's an extremely smart person when it comes to comics. You know,
Yeah.
say what you will,
And you
you
can
know.
tell it's his passion. He loves
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah. So can't fault him for that. I'm not sure about what he's done lately, but
Okay, speaking of that,
all right.
he's doing a new
Youngblood.
unit, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's not very good. I read it out of habit and a longing for the past. You know, I was reading New Mutants when he put out issue 87. You know, when
Yep.
he first started out there, and he was, you know, I was in his world at church and blah blah blah, and then X Force was huge, and I'd go to the comic store and see him, you know, and then I'm working for him, and but this is terrible. This is
Yeah.
not good. You know, he is not doing his best work. I feel like lazy now, and he shouldn't be writing his own stories. He needs
Yeah.
Eric Stevenson. The height of Youngblood, you know, was when Eric Stevenson was writing it. That's my opinion. But anyway,
And those two issues that Alan Moore wrote.
yes, I guess I didn't care for a lot of the characters in that particular run. But,
Yeah, he really mixed it all up. I
he did.
mean, I think Shaft was the only one that kind of continued on out of the original
Yeah,
group, and
yeah.
then everybody else was like Alan Moore was like going, "What's kind of like what are people into? How about this?" You know?
I mean, Youngblood's its own thing, and I can't say any of his other books like Prophet. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones in there, but
Glory was great. You know,
Glory.
Newman had a time. The Extreme Studios put out some decent books.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big Platt fan. That sold a
No.
billion copies because everybody loved his artwork. I never read it because I didn't like his artwork, even when I was working there. Don't tell anybody I worked there, but I was not reading that comic book or some of the
Oh, I'm gonna tell.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so
But
yeah, that's basically my story up until today. Extreme Studios and making comics for the last 15, 16 years. Yeah,
Great
like
to have that, you know. Now, do you do the conventions? Obviously, you have your backdrop ready to go, but do you hit the
I've done them.
convention scene?
I've done them for years. Okay, so here we are. That's my Pilot Studios banner.
There we go.
If you look at this book here called The Carriers,
Yep.
weaponized carrier pigeons and their New York adventures. I similar to Kanin the Marauder, I finished a bunch of issues with lots of people's help, and I did a Kickstarter for it. And after my Always Punch Nazis book was so huge, I thought, oh, that audience will be in that, you know, I'll have that audience. They'll come to the Carriers, this pigeon superhero turtle book, you know, similar to the Turtles. And that didn't happen. And it was failing. And I
Hmm.
canceled. The only Kickstarter I've canceled was Carriers #1. And I
Wow.
get an email. Was it after it must have been after I canceled it, clearly, from somebody at Red 5 Comics. And that turned into the best thing ever. So I ended up publishing 2 full volumes of, pardon me, 2 full volumes of the Carriers, weaponized carrier pigeons and their New York adventures. Season 1, I think this was 5 issues. Kurt Belcher did a story, Elias Martins, Jim Riley. So we finished that, and that is at conventions regularly. And then I did a whole second volume of the Carriers, season 2. So that was my first series out of my own Pilot Studios books. And to your question about conventions, yes, I've done lots of conventions as Pilot Studio. And I think out of the 3 out of the last 4 years, I did Red Comics at San Diego Con, like the biggest con. And I'm taking this year off, just burnt out, sleeping in a hostel, doing that all day long. I completely love Red 5 and the opportunity that I got. And you're just talking basically for 5 or 6 days straight. And that book, The Carriers, actually, we've been able to pitch to some Hollywood producers based on those San Diego trips. And that is with the company, and they're trying to get that. So they took that and developed a pitch, and they take that pitch to various networks, and they say, would you like to buy this property from Ben Ferrari, Red 5 Comics, and us, the producer? So that's a thing, and that's been going on for. They've met with a couple different. They've met with Warner Brothers and Disney and Nickelodeon, and none of them picked it up. So at this point, he has more options on to pitch it to. But hey, that's a feather in my hat, getting that thing as far as it got, and it's not done yet. I'm not saying it's dead in the water. Anything can happen, but so after the Carriers, I got another book with Red 5 called The Sun Chasers, and that's one of those shots that I also see you. That's about the son of Hitler out to redeem Hitler's name. He's a good person, taking out people like his father. And Kurt Belcher did the art on that. I co-created it with Buck Weiss, and it's a novel, one shot. Yeah, down there on the bottom. Yeah, that's a cover by Elias Martins, and Buck wrote it along with my plot, and Kurt Belcher did the art. So that's available at red5comics.com, along with the Carriers volumes as well. So feel free to check those out if anybody's interested.
That's cool.
And Kanin the Marauder may end up with Red 5 Comics, which would be great.
Now, would they pick it up after a certain number of issues, or they just pick it up wherever? Would they reprint it underneath their banner?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd send them a cover just like that, and they'd put their Red 5 Comics logo on it, and they'd change around the indicia, the copyright information on the inside front cover, and go from there, and like I said, I have 4 issues 100%, so that could go to him tomorrow, and he could change them to his printer. He could put them on Massive Indies is the distributor these days under Lunar for Red 5 Comics and so many other small publishers. So this is a cover for issue 5 that you're looking at right there. I finished the artwork a while back. I have yet to get the colors done yet. There is another cover on there, jumping off the boat. That was issue 3. That down there is a Logan Lubera cover, and he's a friend from Extreme Studios. He was he did a bunch of things in my time there. He did a bunch of work as part of Extreme Studios, and maybe a lot of the Extreme Destroyer. I think he did maybe some Supreme covers, and he's obviously a fantastic artist to this day. So that right there will be a cover for another story by another writer named Brian Cannon. Loved this artwork so much. He said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, we don't have a story. Logan basically developed these characters, and feel free to come up with a story." So Brian is writing a story based on art, which is a funny way to go about making, but that's the way it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. I mean,
that top one is the exact same situation. These are from the mini series that I'm finishing now. The two women, they're twins. I said to Chris Marinin, who's a longtime Marvel and DC artist, I'd like you to do something for me. And, we spit ideas, and I said, hey, these are pirates. Let's do something. And these female pirate captains on a ship, and there's treasure. And he said, okay. And this showed up today, or was it yesterday? So it's brand new. And guess what? We're writing a story based on this. It's so fantastic, this artwork. And we're going to
mm.
do a short story based on this. We've already plotted it. Kurt's sitting down and writing me a short story. So that in the next few months. And so I'm 3 books in development right now. So
That's
Yeah.
3 more Kickstarters. I mean,
yes, only downside. It's they're painful. So
right. Yeah. So after all the Kickstarters, are you going to do like a Kickstarter for a trade? Is
yeah,
that what I
yeah. I
heard?
think I think what I'm going to do is after this 4th issue, I'll probably do a book or 2 that have sidelined that I haven't been able to get to. We have a Warhawk and Magni. It's a trade paperback. That's like a sort of a Captain America style, Superman style characters mashed up in a World War II setting. I've been sitting on that for 6 months since we actually finished it. So that'll probably be the next one because I owe the guy who did a lot of work on that. I owe the exposure and to book out there. And then I have another one that's very old that I should get to as well. Needs colors and letters, a different property. And then we'll do a trade paperback for Marauder, and I'll probably put some short stories in there, bone material, and then we'll do a few. Yeah.
And then, like, if it makes enough, can we see a variant cover with Stan Sakai doing
Sure.
combo of
Yeah.
Usagi and
Oh, that's a great idea. If I could afford Stan Sakai, sure. I actually went to Sergio. Is that how you say his name? And
Yeah,
the
that's
Guru
close.
guy. I thought it would be fun to see his version. So I said, hey, how much would it cost to do this Kanin the Marauder? And they said, oh, we don't do that. I'm guessing that means he only does Guru commissions. So who knew?
Wow.
well, if he can survive on that, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure he can. That's how he's known for.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up on those Mad magazines. I would almost never read the Mad magazine. I would look for the
Yes,
Sergio stuff and the sides and
cartoons.
the edges, and
Yep.
it's like,
Yeah,
man, it's insanely brilliant. Yeah, because like being able to tell a whole story in just that littlest of gutters.
yeah. And it was always funny. It was always meant something.
Yeah. Yep. When you're able to get this many variant covers and you're giving people options and you're giving them the prints, it's a good bundle to get on the Kickstarter front. I do have to ask a question because you have the one print that shows the 4 eras
Yeah,
of Canaan, um, and no spoilers obviously, but there's already been an introduction of Old Man, um,
yeah,
and so. Which leads to, um, do you have an end in sight for these characters? Do you have, or do you just like the adventures can go on, kind of like there's
yeah.
never really the fade into the sunset kind of a moment.
So I think we're doing something kind of unique with it. So the main section, the main story of each book is Kanin the Marauder. He's in his 40s, 30s. He's a kind of angry.
He's so young.
Yes, he's wild. Um, a drinker. He's a womanizer. He doesn't believe because there's some religious people, and he's sort of, I don't want any of that. He's very much in my face. He's some of the Conan archetypal stories. That's him. He'll be a thief. He'll it, and so that's the main list of Kanan the Marauder. And we have one. There was one page I sent you, Federico Siak Pepito Jr., where he's a toddler. So we're doing a couple short stories, 2 showed up so far, of Lil Kanan adventures, where he's a child, and light-hearted adventures. And they have something to say. I think near the top, actually, they have something to say. But it's him kid, right there, yeah. And so there he is fishing, and something takes a hold of his fishing rod. This is a simple story, and they're just 2 years, but I think it fits perfectly with a Lenin motif, or of his life. That's what I call them, the eras. And I don't think I sent you one for the next era, but it's called Young Kanan the Rebel. Right? We figured if he's a later in his teen years, he's a rebel. So we have stories. We've done one so far in issue 2, I believe, and another one will show up in issue 5 of Kanan the Rebel, and it's a throwback to alternative underground comics of the 70s and 80s, and I don't know, R. Crumb style. My father-in-law is the artist. He's Mark Miyashiro. He's been drawing his whole life, similar to me. So we created this along with him, and so we plot a young Kanan the Rebel story. Mark draws it and does colors even, and it's fantastic. So that's 3 eras of his life, including Kanan the Marauder. And then the 4th one is Old Man Kanan, and the first Old Man Kanan story shows up in this issue 4. And he's not at the end of his life, but he's old and he's a conqueror. And the first story we show him is him conquering a city, and so you get a sly look on his face, the very last part of the story. And basically what we're saying, he's not going to be a very good king. He's not this perfect. So we're breaking the archetype a little bit there. He's not going to be well loved as a ruler. First of all, he's conquering. There's a big war. He's attacking the city and he's taking it over. And I don't sent you any of that artwork. But and so I think the 4 different eras of his life sets this property apart from other things right there, from most things. Can't think of anything off the top of my head, and I've thought a lot about it. Do we sum up characters from their childhood to their old age of life? I don't think so. So in that way, this is a unique series, and I'm very proud of that. Main story is Kanan the Marauder, and then we have these short stories with the other 3 eras. So
Yeah, it really lets you explore a lot of different scenarios. You could do many things with it. The way you have it right now, you could tell an entire series based on one thing, and then
yeah,
lead it right into the other. It's a great storytelling um, way to move a story along.
Well, I was going to say, because one of the things I like about this concept as well is this similar to like what Mignola had for Hellboy, is that,
that's true.
what kind of stories do you as the creator want to tell?
Mm-hmm.
And then what is the means to convey to tell those stories? What's the common thread that will tie all those elements? So if you want something that's set in World War II, Hellboy could do that. If you wanted something that was set in modern times, it could. You wanted fighting giant,
Yeah,
frost giants in Norway, he can do that.
yeah,
Whatever, because Mignola liked to draw certain things. He wanted to get away from the superhero thing, but he wanted to draw.
Monsters.
Yeah, you want a floating skull in a fish tank? Yep, I can do that,
yeah,
And that was all because he created the character with that in mind at the onset. It's like these are the stories I wanted to tell, and
mm-hmm.
this is a character through which I can tell these stories. So, this room is very reminiscent in my head, at least, of that concept of, these you can tell nearly infinite number of stories because again, you're not while it is set in the future, it's not beholden to the world that we know,
Right. You're
and
right.
there's a lot of, you can make up whatever kind of creature,
Mm-hmm.
could be just as readily available to exist as something that you might recognize.
Absolutely. And so, like you said, this is far in the future. It's on Earth. The oceans have risen, all that nuclear waste and everything else with the oceans. And so, what we've done is give a kind of a brief reason why the whole planet is just anthropomorphic humanoid creatures as monsters, right? So they basically evolved quickly, and so we're far in the future, at the beginning of a new cycle on the Earth. The humans are long gone. You're not going to see any humans. You will see a little bit of human architecture in the series. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. You know what I mean? I have to come up with a reason why it is what it is, and that's what we came up with. And then we're off. We're doing whatever we want, like I said. And then when getting back to Hellboy, you're right. I even thought about the fact that now they've done a few young, is it young Hellboy,
Yep.
kid Hellboy?
Tiny. Yep.
Yeah. So Hellboy is a great example of something like we're doing. I'm sure there's been teenage stories with Hellboy, and then as a kid. So yeah, no, actually, Hellboy would be, as far as I know, the best example as a similar property. Sure.
And we've all had teenagers probably, so we know how bad that can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about the Rebel era is we're doing like teenage angst, and learning how the world really works, and these things that as a teenager, oh, it's fun.
Not only Ben, do you have like the coolest name in comics, Ben Ferrari, I don't know if anybody else said that to you, but pretty
Yeah,
cool. And I know you like to do TikToks in your car.
that's one
Um,
time. I've done one.
Me too. One
Hope,
time.
I can't
hopefully not
believe that.
driving.
I'm way longer than I have in doing content, and
Yeah.
I see people do it all the time. So I was like, all right, here I am in my car with comics. Let's do this.
Yeah, it is a phenomenon. I've
Uh,
never quite understood it. A lot of people read their comics, right? Like here's what I got just out of the
yeah.
comic store. And that's great. I mean, to me, it was very uncomfortable, but I enjoyed doing it because I
Oh,
saw
how
you
funny!
doing it.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I've done maybe a dozen TikToks, and so it's new to me, very new.
Yeah,
And usually I'm doing unboxing videos for comics that I've had printed, or whatever, promoting the Kickstarter. And then I've done a couple of, hey, these are my comics, because so many kids are buying comics and then they go, I got this one and I got this one. And so if I'm going to keep doing it, it's going to be a little bit more. This is why I like this book, do a little bit of a review,
right,
and what's cool about it or why it
right.
sucks. Sometimes they suck.
Yeah. I mean, any cover with Mignola. I'm a big George Perez fan, so if I ever saw a George Perez cover, I'd pick it up. There's reasons you get these comics.
Yeah.
It's not just cause.
No.
Now, Ben, have you gotten into the absolutes at all? These absolute Batman, absolute Superman.
Yeah. Issue one, Batman, Absolute Batman #1 came out, bought it, and it was fine, but I didn't see any reason to continue because I'm not really, I don't collect Batman regularly, and this is a slightly different, interesting version, I guess, but not enough to continue. I can't find that comic book. I don't know where I did with it, and occasionally I give away books, and that may have been in the stack that I gave away, because
Yeah,
that's a valuable comic book now.
it
Unbelievable.
is. Yeah,
So and I picked up some Wonder Woman, and maybe an issue here and there of the Batman series, and I think I got Superman #1, but nothing just grabbed me except for the Wonder Woman I read. I think I read the annual that was in the last 3 months or so. That
hmm
was fantastic.
Was it
It was
okay?
it was a standalone story. Oh my god, it was one of the best things I've ever read. But I still didn't go grabbing it, to continue it. I don't know. It's just I guess I'm over superheroes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I read my son's Absolute Batman trade,
Okay.
and I thought it's okay.
Yeah.
I think I said it on a TikTok too. I would have preferred it if it was another IP, if it wasn't Batman, and they had just made this character up. I think it would have been better. It was strong enough to stand alone, but just
Yeah.
if it was Batman, it was just I don't know, an Elseworlds Batman story we've seen
Yeah.
100 times. I don't know. I don't get the
And
hype, I guess, but I'm old.
I know exactly, and they're doing something. Supposedly, it's bringing kids into comics, and that is excellent. That is
Yep.
wonderful. It deserves all the flowers, all the credit. If that's really, I don't know how it's doing it. Are they marketing on TikTok? Is that it? Is
I
it
don't
the
know.
manga sort of influence? Is it? I don't understand it, but I don't care.
Yep.
Congratulations to them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. They deserve, if they're
Yeah.
bringing kids in, like I said, I borrowed my son's, my 16-year-old's trade to read it. So,
Okay.
it's working, but oh,
Oh
So
man.
this is Chubbs,
Yeah,
and
inspiration.
she is the inspiration for Kanin the
all
Marauder
right.
with
Needs
that
the
black
red eyes.
face, with except for the red eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
But she's got that black top of her head and the rest white. That's where he's designed from. So
Ah,
I share my
brilliant.
office with the rabbit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was gonna ask one of the questions about the inspiration because, like you said, it was Yasagi to some degree, but I can't imagine that that was like the soul. Like, well, I got to pick out of all the animals, all the creatures in the world, one of the least violent.
Right. You know,
Unless you watched or read Watership Down, then
Watership
it's
Down. Yeah, they're pretty violent.
oh,
that's
that was a
terrible.
traumatic movie. I'm
Yeah.
sure I read the book in the school, and then I saw the movie, or maybe vice versa in order. But that
Oof.
original cartoon was fantastic. You know,
Yeah.
with the bulldozer racing through the fields and killing those rabbits. Oh my god!
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
That's not
that's
just me. You remember that?
Yep, yep.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, it's one of those things like some people remember where they were when Kennedy was shot.
Yeah.
Like I can remember where I was when I watched that for the first time. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, a cartoon can do this? I didn't know
Yeah.
it could do this.
That's
You
funny.
know, it was like, even Bambi's mom got shot off screen. Spoilers, but
What?
this was just like right in your face. It's like, oh man, the horrors and yeah, it was
There's got to be some good
rabid.
stories about that production. Being so violent, right? And they put out a new one on Netflix 5 years. It was actually pretty good, if I remember correctly. It doesn't stick in my brain like that
No.
original, but it's still pretty good if you want to watch something new.
Yeah, yeah, there was like over several episodes, so it wasn't just all self, into one. And what made it more of a traumatizing, this was similar to like Winnie the Pooh, where it was the author was telling the story to their children,
Mm.
and then they can collected the story into this. So can you imagine? And that's when the bulldozers, kiddies, the bulldozers.
Daddy, no.
Yeah,
Okay, now get some sleep. It's like, well,
it's not
that's
real. Didn't really
yeah.
die. Rabbits don't die. Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
hey, I got a question. I'm going to jump back to on your Kickstarter this for for issue 4. You noted that on the physical samples, you're going to sign them.
Yeah,
So you're gonna get signed editions on this one. If somebody were to buy issues 1 through 4, would you sign all 4 or just issue 4?
absolutely. Yeah. Not only will I sign them all, I typically do a little sketch too, a little
Mm,
Sharpie sketch of the character. Little
that's great.
usually either on the backboard, backing the cardboard in the plastic. Sometimes just on the cardboard that I sandwich it in when I ship it. But yeah, absolutely, I will sign everything. I even went to a 3 week window this time. Usually it's just a 2 week campaign. I went to 3 weeks this time, signing them all. So I just want to get more interest. Um, build ship a little bit, whatever it takes. Lots of times you would charge for a signature, but not for this one. It takes
Yeah,
2 seconds to do a
that
signature.
has thrown me for a loop to a degree. Comic creators signing and paying, getting paid to sign a book, and I can understand it. And also, I unfortunately grew when we first started going to Comic Cons. They were just happy that you knew who they were,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so it was like, and obviously there was several where it's like, we were at one in Detroit. Andy and I went to this one, and John Romita Jr. had done, was it the Man Without Fear? He did that like a dare. No, it was Punisher War Zone or something
Warzone,
like
yeah.
that. And a comic shop had him doing a signing, and they must have bought like 300, 400 copies. And he was just signing JR, 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 JR. And it was just like, that dude, you just gave him carpal tunnel. I mean, you destroyed his career having him sign all those books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
hopefully he made some money. I'm sure he did.
yeah, but the which was weird because at the time, like everybody was just signing stuff. Like you could go up to, if you saw him at his own table,
Hmm.
you could just bring up a book and he would sign it. And that was it. There
Yeah.
was no money transaction. There wasn't anything, you just, and if you brought your own book, it wasn't like, oh, no, no, you have to buy something from my, stack. I can't, let's,
Yeah.
and it's like, and then we also were like the last to get like Adam Hughes when he was doing those backer boards. And so he'd get a comic book backer board. He would do a Sharpie sketch in, what was it, seconds? I mean, this dude was,
Yeah, he was
Really
fast, and he would do it for everybody too. So,
yeah. And it was just like,
awesome.
I mean, the line it wasn't terribly long, but it was like, what character you like? I like this character. Boom, 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 boom. Here you go. There's your character. And he would just hand them out. He would just give them away and just giving them away. But this was obviously eBay wasn't the big thing, and that's ultimately what killed it.
Yeah. That, and
And
it's sort of
then
easy to understand. These a lot of artists don't make big bucks like an Adam Hughes or plenty of people. So a little bit of money for their signature when it's going to go on, like you said, and somebody's going to make money. I'm okay with
right.
them doing it. It makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, it's too bad that we've lost that old where you could just walk up and they sign it for free and you pay.
And
But
gum
a
was a
lot of people,
nickel back then,
what's that?
Gum
Gum
was a nickel back then, and it's
back in my
times have
day, yeah.
changed. You know,
But people
yeah,
are bringing like their kids up. The kid hands the comic book over, and the creator does a signature and for the kid for free, and then that's on eBay 5 minutes later. So,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's
I
always
can't fault.
yeah,
And rates
no,
haven't been kept up with inflation either, right? Most guys are making 100 something or 200 a page. That's what they were making 20 years ago or less. So
right, yeah. It's too bad, but yeah, like you said, it's part of the new wave, part of the new time. And
mhm.
they got to get their money. I'm sure travel expenses, hotel expenses, they haven't gone down either, and they're not always covered by the con itself. So
Yeah,
they
no,
gotta
rarely.
make something back.
Mhm.
Ben, if you're ever doing conventions over in towards Michigan, Chicago, Detroit, Grand Rapids, my local town has a big convention.
Okay,
It's just
cool. I'm in the Bay Area right now, and the conventions I do regularly are just around the Bay. There's no money to buy in hotels. So maybe someday. But
yeah,
like I said, I've done San Diego a few times, but that's because Red Five is kind and generous with reimbursing expenses. So
right.
um, anyway,
Makes it easy.
so when you're producing these books, are you intentionally like having just one Kickstarter at a time to keep the focus on that, or is it just a production thing that you're looking to do,
I
or
don't think you can do multiple Kickstarters at the same time. I've tried to launch a Kickstarter or at least get it approved, right? Because you build a Kickstarter campaign, say for number three or for number three.
Mhm.
If you haven't fulfilled number two, if you haven't hit that fulfilled button, it will not approve this new one. So yeah,
Oh, okay,
always for me, it's always one at a time. They
okay,
you have to physically hit a button on each of your backers saying this is the status and it better be fulfilled on every single one, or you can't start another one. Maybe people can lie. I'm sure they can.
Is
hmm
But
that Simon Games, Mike? Is that what
yeah,
they do on their kicks on all your Kickstarters for them?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'm going to be out a lot of money on that one.
yeah, but yeah, I would think you'd want to wrap one up before you do another one. It's just
yeah,
makes sense that way, doesn't it?
and then you get a couple weeks of not thinking about it. Oh my god, that's so nice. A couple weeks of not. But then you're like, oh, I have 2 weeks till I'm supposed to launch this thing. I better start making this next one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The great thing about your Kickstarter is you finish the book before you even do it.
Yeah,
So all you have to do is get the people to see it. I think that's great. A lot of Kickstarters probably don't do that. They probably,
yeah.
I'll draw half now and then we'll see what happens. You complete the issue and it's ready to go. Like I saw, like you're gonna ship out in May. Like um,
I could ship
I'm
out tomorrow. I'll probably start shipping, within a few days of it finishing. Ever that's
yeah.
finishing in the next 2 weeks or so. yeah, that's I think I'm pretty proud of the fact that we get them out regularly because they're all done.
Right.
I print them and then I have a list of people and I send out a survey, and I get addresses and then I start shipping. It takes 2 or 3 evenings of packaging, and then another night or two of address. You're inputting most of these addresses if you haven't had them before. If they're not returning people, you're putting new addresses and you're printing the address and taping it on the finished box. And it's a time-consuming thing. I'd probably spend 4 or 5 long evenings on
Yeah.
each one. So
Right.
but it's not too bad. I'm not complaining.
Right. Cut into family time a little bit, but I'm sure they understand.
Oh God, my girls are teenagers. My son is at college, and my wife is doing her thing. No, there's no problem. They don't care.
Yeah.
You and Mike are living the dream. I still have two little ones running
Okay,
around,
right on.
but that's okay too. Well, Ben, thanks for having us today. Thanks for being on the show. Kanin
Yeah.
the Marauder, Kickstarter, another week or two, another two
Yep.
weeks.
Yep.
The link will be in the show notes. I'm gonna advertise it on our page and some TikTok pages. We'll
Right
see
on.
what we can get some people looking into that. Um, Again, you have the coolest name in comics. I
My
expect,
wife's pretty happy. My wife's
yeah,
pretty happy with
yeah, I bet, yeah, yeah. I expect more car videos from you at least once a week, maybe,
that. Okay. Sure.
maybe
Yeah.
not.
Why
Gotta
Um,
not?
rent a
right.
Ferrari to be in a Ferrari and just do
Ben
that.
Ferrari in a Ferrari. I'm sure that's.
I won't be doing TikToks in Ferraris. No.
Thanks
Well,
again for the show. It was a pleasure talking to you.
it was a good talking to you. I'm glad, like I said, TikTok is new to me. So, occasionally I watch other people's things and I saw you talking. I was like, this guy knows comics and he's not some kind of spaz. You're very
Right.
even keel kind of
Right.
guy.
Yeah. We just try to casually talk.
Yeah.
We try to pick people who seem to know about as much as us or more, please more.
Yeah.
And just someone who likes to tell stories and loves comics, which you clearly do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Very kind of you to say.
Yeah. And Mike, you got anything else to say before we can
Yeah, just
close
all I was
out?
gonna say is just to reiterate, the Kickstarter for issue 4 wraps by May 10,
May
looks like.
10th.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks.
So Ben Ferrari, I'm on Facebook. Now I'm on TikTok, obviously. Am I Ben Ferrari 6, I think, or Pilot Studios at Ben Ferrari 6? I don't even know how that works. How do I have two names? I don't know. And then Pilot Studios on Facebook. I'm on Threads at Pilot Studios Official. Same with Instagram, Pilot Studios Official. So thank you
All
both
right.
very much. It's very nice to meet you,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and hope to talk again.
absolutely
All
fantastic.
right. Thanks again. And for the show, I'm Andy,
And I might
and we'll talk to you next time.
we hit that age where we're talking about ailments. That's
Right.
like the go-to. It's
Yeah.
not like, hey, what concert did you hit up last night or anything? It's like, oh, I got sciatica.
Right.